This is the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast, session number 261. Tom Nicoli goes online.
Welcome to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast with Jason Linett, your professional resource for hypnosis training and outstanding business success. Here's your host, Jason Linett.
We interrupt your regular podcast episodes for this special series of Work Smart Hypnosis sessions. Hey, it's Jason Linett, and the truth is of this podcast series, we get a ton of downloads when the episode first comes out, but then we get even more over the course of the next few years. So if you happen to be listening to this episode sometime in the future, let me give a specific timestamp of this beginning of a series here. That it's right now, it's March 23rd, 2020, as I'm recording this, and around the world, globally, we are in a health pandemic. The coronavirus, the COVID-19 crisis, people are getting sick, and various countries and specific states in the U.S. are going on full lockdown, encouraging people to stay home, and by all means, please out there, follow that advice. That being said, this seems a good opportunity to start to highlight people in our profession who have been doing this work online for years, which I'll give you a quick reference here before we jump in, which would be simply go to worksmarthypnosis.com/now online. Make sure that's all one word with no punctuation. worksmarthypnosis.com/now online. That'll redirect you over to the episode 260, which was the first episode I did on this series. We put a whole bunch of resources, and we're bringing a lot of events online. You can see the list of everything that we've got going on over at that Now Online link. But this became an opportunity to look and realize, let's double down the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast. We're not going to be coming to you once a week just on Thursdays for the next month, maybe more. Instead, starting with this episode launching this week, Thursday, I'm going to be coming to you on Thursdays and Mondays. 2 episodes a week. We're going to keep them to around a tight 30 minutes or so in terms of the content. And here's what it's all about, people. It's all about highlighting those people who have been doing this type of work for years, giving you the strategies in terms of how they get their clients to find them for global online sessions, some of the best practices of how they do the work as well, which it seemed only fitting to kick this off right with Tom Nicoli. Tom was previously on the podcast back on episode number 88, back in December of 2016. I am cheating. That's in front of me. If you go to the show notes for this episode, that'll be right there in front of you as well. So the quick backstory of Tom had an amazing big break pretty early in his career of doing an amazing guest spot on Dateline NBC. You can hear the entire story when he was on the podcast back a number of years ago and how it became that instant success, which I love this anecdote that session that they filmed for the NBC special was in an office that used to be a closet. So yeah, just further proves the fact you can do hypnosis practically anywhere. And because of that instant fame, that clip then went global. It went all around the world. Immediately, there was the need to figure out ways to work with people around the world as well. And through the wonders of technology, we had Zoom, we have Skype, we have all these different platforms. And the thing I really want to highlight of what you're about to listen to with this conversation with Tom is that the way that he gives his instructions to his client, it's like you've heard me say with the pre-talk, the all positive pre-talk, everything he says is positive. And it's just this beautiful phrasing that he shares, and I got him to repeat it, so listen carefully as he gets into it. Then we also go into the conversation of how do you find these clients? How do these clients find you online? And what I love about it is it's the formula that we all ought to live by. Give, 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 get. That willingness to be out there, content marketing, sharing information, helping people out, and to have the same satisfaction, whether they are that person who watched you on a Facebook Live and learned something and create a change in their life as a result of that, or even if they're that person, as Tom references, I've had these people too who fly halfway across the world to work with you directly, or nowadays click a few buttons and suddenly we can see their headboard. there's a lot of conversations about headboards in this conversation. So thank you, Tom, for jumping in and helping us to launch this series here. Stick around and make sure you are subscribed to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast, because starting this week, we're going to be coming to you on Thursdays and Mondays. We've got Lori Hammond, we've got Marion Spurgeon, Kelly T. Woods, Anthony Jacquin, a whole bunch of others, and a few more that I'm lining up just to give you more strategies, more techniques to really help our profession flourish in a time that people can really benefit from the hypnotic work that we can share. And with that, let's jump into the first of this series. Here we go. Episode number 261, Tom Nicoli Goes Online. Hey, Tom, how's it going?
Going great, Jason. How you been?
Operation Don't Wear Real Pants for a Month is officially in effect.
Hey, if it was warmer out, I'd be in the bathing suit right now.
Yeah, which we were chatting before we jumped in that, at least change the shirt, right?
Well, yeah, be aware of what's being seen.
Well, the number of videos, there's one video inside of my Hypnotic Business Systems where we had to spend a lot of time and effort to black out the one box of the person who didn't realize we could see them. And very thorough shower, we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
So spending this month and doubling down on some of the podcast episodes that you were previously on the podcast, we'll link to it in the show notes at worksmarthypnosis.com. But I know that years ago, you took a lot of your work online and spending this month to kind of double down and really unpack some of the strategies, some of the techniques. So can you walk us through, first of all, some of that backstory of when you first started to take things online?
I'll tell you, man, it's a whole new world for me. I had an office in Woburn, Massachusetts, about 8 miles north of Boston. And I had another office at the same time in Salem, New Hampshire, which is just over the Mass-New Hampshire border. And they were both doing really well. Man, there was a time, and this was even past Dateline stuff and all that, where I was still doing 90 sessions a week. So Imagine 6 days a week, 15 sessions a day, right? Can you believe that I now do about 10 to 12 sessions a week and I make the same money?
Yeah.
And it's all about restructuring and revamping. So I shut those two offices down about 5 years ago, maybe. I forget, about 4 or 5 years ago. And I moved everything to the front room of my house. But I was seeing about 70+% of my clients online because they're in different countries, different states. And as long as, my belief system, Jason, is I don't believe in telephone hypnosis sessions because we can emotionally trigger people and you may not see their emotional reaction and then you can't really handle the session properly. So as long as I can see you, I just can't reach out and touch you, but as long as I can see you and you can hear me, we're good.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that at least that quality to observe the person and see what's going on. And as soon as we can see them, it brings about a whole other range of techniques, if it's like an idiomotor response or even a head nod or something as simple as that. But that ability to really interact, and it doesn't take too much modification then to figure out the same stuff that we did in our offices. And you got me beat on the numbers there. At one point, I was doing 35 to 45 a week. Which is a time frame where I went, I don't have kids yet. I can burn out now. I'm young. And nowadays it's about 10 to 15 or so as well. So what modifications, what adjustments did you have to make, if any, to make that work in the online format?
No more hand drops, arm pulls.
Yeah.
But over time I got, I guess more skilled, where I just would sit in my chair, just look at the person and talk to them, and I got all the effect I wanted and needed. There is the only difference I tend to believe is the energetic presence, right?
Yeah.
But not so much where it's going to affect the session to any degree that's going to matter, in my belief and in my experience. So there really wasn't much adjustment. Other than enjoying the non-travel, no traffic, setting your hours differently, working with anybody in the world so you don't have to, be concerned about your locale and all of that. It was pretty curious. I forget the gentleman, and you would know him. I've done a bunch of teaching in England, and that's how I met him. And he saw me post something about I just finished a session with a woman in London. And he said, "This is very peculiar, Tom. I just finished a session with a woman in Lowell, Massachusetts, about 5 miles from your house, and you work with somebody not far from me." So this is the cool part of it all is that, man, the world is your market now.
Right. I mean, it's that catchphrase of mine that the world has become a whole lot smaller.
Mm,
And there is that aspect of what opened it up for me. And I agree with you. And I want to go back to this idea of that energetic exchange in the
mhm.
room and perhaps ways we can bring that out. Let's go back to that in a moment. But that experience where you've worked with somebody and they refer to you, and I have full faith in so many other people in this profession, but there does come that game where they go, yeah, but I want you to work with my mom. I want you to
Yeah,
do it. And
right.
suddenly I'm on a connection with someone, Vancouver, British Columbia, 3 hours behind me. How yesterday we had a big webinar event and someone was waking up at 3 in the morning to watch it live as it started at 4 a.m. his time.
Mm.
And this ability that we can recreate a lot of that same experience and how this has been viable for years. It's just a lot of people are having to catch up to it. Are there any things that you're doing to create that sort of energy balance, to create that sort of same we're in this together mode that we get so much more easily, let's say, in the room?
No, man, because I've even written about it in my article in the journal about
Hmm.
rapport, and I've always been very keen on creating massive rapport. But I just mentioned it to Ramsey. I just put up a video, and he said, "Man, I need 30 of those." And I said, "I'll admit that I'm a ham. I love this stuff. It becomes easy to me." So
Sorry, 30 of what?
these promotional videos for the online conference this weekend,
Oh, yeah.
the wellness conference.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, to me, it's an easy gig. It's just getting the person comfortable, understanding what they may be thinking that could be an impediment, getting that out of the way, and just doing it the same way, man.
Hmm. I mean, it's where so
Hey, let
much
me
of it.
interrupt you though. There's something you mentioned in passing that is an adjustment. That's time zones.
Yes.
That's the adjustment. So, I've become pretty particular and somewhat selfish with my time and the way my lifestyle goes, which is just so freeing. But then because of time zones and they can only do it after work, yeah, I'm maybe sitting here at a different hour than I'd like to. Um, I'll tell you something interesting just popped in my head, so I'll share it because that's how I believe it goes. Whatever shows up, I talk about. People will say, "Well, I don't have a space, right? I don't have a quiet space. My kids, my dog, my whatever." Well, there was a young lawyer that I was working with, and she was down in Florida. She probably still is. And when we did the sessions, it was always at noon because she would leave her office, go to her car, lock the doors, put her phone on her steering wheel, and lean back in her seat with her headphones on.
Yep.
Hey, anywhere that works.
Well, it's that reality that we can take it's standard utilization. We can take
Mhm.
whatever environment that they're in, and the fact that we can do the work in the environment where you wish to produce the change often helps us
Right.
get that result even faster,
Exactly.
right?
Yep.
Which may be a bit of conversational influence or the flexibility of it that I've had so many people, Pentagon workers tend to be my magic category for they're suddenly in the car
Yep.
and the phone is perched up somewhere and they're plugged in and good to go.
And you can imagine how many metaphors I did about her driving to her goals.
Nice. Nice, nice. Yeah, I was gonna look at that. You mentioned something in passing just a moment ago that creating that rapport, creating that connection.
Yeah.
Is there anything you can identify that you do differently when it's in that remote video session versus live?
Uh, probably not because even in the office, they come in a little tight and tense and not sure and all that. So it's
Yeah, good
just
point.
putting them at ease, just being light about it. Anything you make a big deal becomes a big deal. And if they see that you're stressed, they're going to feel it, whether it's conscious or not. They're going to definitely feel your vibe. But my attitude is, what is the problem here? Come on, let's just hang out and let's, create some change. And
Yeah.
they respond well to it.
That so much of that is just the foundation, the environment that we create. And I think this is something which is why we're launching a lot more episodes on this theme of people going, oh, but it's strange. It's like, well, if you treat it as it's strange,
But
then
what's strange?
I know,
They
right?
probably don't have an answer to that.
Yeah. Well, who was it? Joseph Onesta in Pennsylvania has the line that he says to his clients in person, well, let me just call this out in advance. There's something inherently weird about what's about to happen. You've driven to a stranger's office and you're going to
Yeah,
close your eyes. Now that that's out of the way, what do you want to change today?
exactly. Well, I'll tell you what, the spin I put on it is I say to them, quite frankly, I should be charging you a lot more. There was no travel time, no wear and tear in your vehicle, no emotional crap, no traffic, no rescheduling of events because you had to, take all that extra time. Because I've actually had people fly from as far as the Philippines to the Boston area for a week to do sessions in many other countries, and people driving 3 hours each way. And I said to them, I'm making a joke of it, but it's kind of true. I should be charging you a whole lot more. So you're getting a real deal. And that all of a sudden calms them down a lot.
I love that. I mean, look at the nature of travel. If you're going to drive across the country, it's going to take a lot more time. If it's going to take a smaller investment to take a bus across the country, but then the benefit is you don't have to be the one driving.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if you suddenly pivot that to a train, it might be cross country a few hours less. It's going to cost more money. And the more expensive would be the airplane flying across country. You'd be there in 6 hours, maybe $500, or, just charter the private jet and you get there.
$25,000.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that. And I know your sense of humor and I know where that's coming from.
$25,000, honey.
Well, I think, people at home should be hearing that sort of mentality, though, that, this is where I've been saying for years, if you want to do more online sessions, it's very simple. Just offer it on your website.
Yeah.
Just put it out there on my strategy session form that people can book time with me. It's a little bit of a hypnotic presupposition by way of a listing pattern. How do you want to work with Jason? Live and in person, online video conference, combination of live and online. Leaves out the fourth obvious option of not at all.
Yeah.
Yet they're seeing that example of the online and suddenly realizing, oh, this is possible. And yeah, I've had people travel in as well. Is there a story that stands out of working with someone interactively, whether it was like a one-off type thing or more of a long-term thing, where perhaps that distance was a bit of an advantage to it?
Well, I don't think there's any advantage other than on their end, right?
Right, yeah.
But I'll tell you, there were two that popped in my head when you said, anything interesting. One was really sad. For a while, I was involved in Anita Moorjani's Facebook private group where I was one of 5 quote unquote healers that they asked to be part of it. And Anita Moorjani was the one you'll see in the clip with Wayne Dyer just before he passed away and did his last presentation. And now she speaks all over the world after her near-death experience. And I was working with a couple of people who were actually dying. And this woman was there in her kitchen, and I knew that she was really, really ill. And her little son came out. Normally I would just, kind of shoo them away. And I just felt so sad knowing that this kid's not going to have his mom much longer. So I let him stand beside her while her eyelids were closed and she was sitting there in trance. And as long as he remained quiet, it was cool. But that stands out like as far as such an emotional situation that happened. And then another time I had worked with this family, starts with the kid, then the parents come in for their issues and you get the rest of the kids. So then I started work with the mom extensively. And I've seen so many headboards of people's beds. It's incredible. It's a common place where they'll do their session. So then she came to the office about 8 months later.
I had a contact, we'd have some challenge there, but go on.
Right. I said, Christine, there's something really wrong here. I feel really awkward doing this session. She goes, what's the matter? I said, you should have brought your headboard with you. So what happens is you start to get into this comfortable visual thing. And it just, that's something important too. When you're sitting there and they're looking at you, what the hell is your background? What's your backdrop? What are they looking at?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand. It's like you see people take selfies in the bathroom and then their kids on the floor behind them. You know what I mean? But that's something seriously to keep in mind is like when I do Facebook Live or I do my Zoom sessions, what's in the background is very intentional. Very intentional. Think about the subliminal messaging of visuals, right?
Right. Which we find ourselves in a moment where Amazon is not doing non-essential shipments. So the idea of going out and buying something at the moment may not be practical. So what would you recommend if someone has to kind of think on the fly and craft that set?
Meaning this isn't necessary to buy, but the food is?
No, I mean in terms of creating that background space when they're doing sessions.
Well, just think about something calming, pleasing, messages. Like behind me, there's a Better You Hypnosis Center in my name on a small little sign. And then on the wall around the house, there are these stencils, instead of painted. And this one says, think, do, be positive. And then a couple of certifications, whatever, behind me, creating that look, that perception, that feel. So when they look at me, it looks like I'm sitting in my office, because I am.
Yeah.
But I've also done this outdoors. But when I do it outdoors, it would be with the woods behind me, or water, or something calming, pleasant, effective, that's going to assist you in your presentation, or rather than your session work.
Yeah, that makes me think about how sometimes I've purposefully done the sessions in different locations based on the style of the work. Do you let that be directed by your own convenience, or is it often directed by what you think you might end up doing in that session?
Nah, the session, to me, it doesn't matter what the session is.
Yeah.
Because the variations of my backdrop don't change that much. Well, that's also, then you brand it, right? When they see you, it's like I talked about this, and I said, when you see our buddy Will Horton, he's always either with the horse on the farm or in that blue backdrop in that room he sits in. So they go, oh, that's that guy Will. Because if you change it all the time, they may not get the same connection.
Right. It's where, the background, like in my classroom with all the papers that are up on the walls, that's become a bit of the branding.
Right.
In the new space, which was, you made fun of me of this in Vegas back in August. And thanks. The example of, what was that?
Which time?
I know.
What were you talking about?
No, the conversation of how I just bought this office and how often I drive here just to turn on video conference.
Right.
Yeah.
but I actually have mentioned that to people. I say, dude, if you know you're doing well, you just bought the building that you got your office in.
Yeah.
So that was a really good move for you. Good for you, man.
Thank you. Thank you. But it's where, playing with different platforms where you can do the green screen and change out the backdrop, which I know Dan Candell does this. I know Karen Hand do this, that they have a photo of their actual office. And this way, even from their own home, they can do that remote session, change out the backdrop to look as if it's their actual office, and there's no difference. I like just something a little bit more plain behind me, which is where I put in that fake brick wall behind me, which just, allows the focus to be on what's directly in front. You mentioned people, the story of the kid being in the room. Do you give any specific advice on their side in terms of how to best set the stage for the session?
Yeah. I mean, the obvious, right? But then again, some things that seem obvious to some people aren't to others. So it's alone, undisturbed, already pre-download Zoom, because that's what I use. To me, it's very reliable, easy, simple for them to, a place where they could be comfortable. They may move around. I maybe talk to them in one place. And I say, okay, now where are you going to go now? Their bed, their couch, their whatever. Have their head supported. You don't want their head snapping back. Earphones, headphones or earbuds. And that's about it. Though sometimes the first 10 minutes is me just directing them on how to connect to the call and how to get their mic working.
That's where I found strength in the phrase that, well, the benefit is we only have to figure out the tech side of this once.
Exactly.
Which I'm even looking at possibly doing a little tutorial as that's become all the sessions this month so far, that just saying, here's how you do it. Although the cool thing with Zoom, if you enable the setting that people can join the event before you log in, the cool thing about that is they can go ahead and click that link well in advance. It's customized specifically to them, so they're not going to be hopping into someone else's session. Basically hop in, see that you connect, and then we're good to go. Do you have which I want to highlight the way that you phrased that, of everything that you said there was positive. Every phrasing
I don't speak negatively.
I know, right?
I avoid don't language. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, that's what we're finding out in this day and age. People's true colors, man. Look how they're posting. Look how they're reacting. Nothing in life is what happens. It's how you react. Even as a hypnotist, it isn't what's happening in your business. It's how you're reacting to it. So react by just knowing there's always opportunity. There's always some alternative. And then step back, calm down, and shift over.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it's where I shared online Frank Kern, who's a sort of a marketing god, put up this great email the other day about here's how you continue to run your business during, not here's how you run your business because of.
Exactly.
That needs to be that
Exactly.
delineating factor. Just so people can hear it again, what were those I don't want to use the word rules, but the foundations as to what you share with the client as to
Yeah, the bullet
uninterrupted, what was the
points,
rest
right?
of it?
The call bullet points. So one, whatever service you're going to use, for me it's Zoom, download it ahead of time and I give them the link, right?
Yeah.
Secondly, you want a place where you're undisturbed, alone, and comfortable. And you want to be able to be in a situation where you're either leaned back, lying down, but your head supported. So when people sit in a chair, I say to them, so where are we going to do well, it's all the session, but the formal part, as it were, part of the session. And they, and they'll shift over to their couch or something or go in their bedroom. So I want their head supported so it doesn't snap back on them. And earbuds or headphones.
Yeah.
You do that, you're in.
I love that because, again, everything is positive. It's telling them exactly what should be happening. Are there any moments where perhaps someone can't comply with some aspects of that? I'd imagine the headphones may be the part that they might have a challenge with if it's a little bit more sudden of a session.
Some people just aren't equipped. They don't have it, but they'll get it for the next time. But back to Sarah, the lawyer down in Florida, having to go into her car. And I would see people walk by her car. They'd walk right by her window and she's tranced out.
I'm doing a session. It was like Friday last week. And she goes, and she set this up ahead of time. She goes, just so you know, my kids are downstairs watching a movie. My husband works from home, but the set of French doors going into her home office, she goes, they're glass doors. So I can't guarantee that the kids won't be looking in. Well, so it's like halfway through the session.
Quiet.
Yeah, it's like halfway through it. I've got them doing the thing with their hands cupped to the eyes, looking through the door, and I'm just waving at them.
I'll tell you, it's unfortunate. It takes a situation like this for a lot of people in our profession to hear what we're discussing. But every hypnotist I coach, this is one of the first things we bring up as an alternative, an option, or maybe even how they shift into doing the bulk of their work. Because so many people aren't even aware.
Right, yeah. Well, that expectation that this is the one way to do it, that there's only one way to do the work when all of this stuff is flexible. I mean, I said this at a keynote years ago, that in a profession where the word hypnosis only dates back about 150 years, we can't lean on the phrase, this is how we've always done it.
Right. And anyone that says this is how it's done in the word must, run away from them.
Yeah.
Because we still don't know.
So let's kind of round it out. We've talked about how to actually work with those clients. Today was a day that I looked at the calendar and there's new inquiries coming in. So I haven't lost any clients. No. I would say that the number of new inquiries coming in is definitely lower this week. Though what kind of recommendations, what is it that you've classically done to bring in those people even around the world? Because we're no longer talking local market. Well,
part of my advantage is, and Craig Eubanks mentioned this maybe 10 years ago at a talk at a conference, and he mentioned a guy out in Cali, and he mentioned me, and he says, if you try to dominate them online, they're too saturated. So my career has saturated enough where I have enough presence and then referrals. And because I've been doing this 21 years or so, and for 18, seriously full-time. And social media, Facebook Live has done a lot for me as far as getting attention and people sharing. But truly, and a lot of people are hip to this, and a lot of people kind of scoff at it, even in our profession, though you would think you'd be a little more open-minded being a hypnotist. But dude, I live in the flow state. I am the law of attraction. And all of this is because I had already envisioned this before it happened. This was part of my mental plan.
Yeah.
And I'm not seeing drop off. Now dig on this. Now, here's the other thing, man. As I said once to somebody in Vegas, I was speaking out there. I said, man, hypnotists are the cheapest bunch of I have met ever. He goes, what? I go, I'm telling you, man. I said, what I give in the coaching programs I do, he says, stop right there. He goes, your problem is you think it's hypnotists. It's people. Mm-hmm. So people, even in our profession, are panicking right now. They're acting afraid. They've blown it out of proportion. The truth is, go ahead and go on, say, Facebook as an example. You're going to see more ads. I was talking to my tech guy this morning about this. We're talking about a thing where a campaign we're rolling out. And I said, hey, I've seen more ads just for anything, shoes, clothes, shirts, whatever, any product, more than ever I had. Well, not ever, but more than I have in a long time.
I would say more than ever, at least in terms
Maybe
of
ever, because
we ran some
everyone's
Facebook
home.
ads for the event with Karen. And I mean, the ad spend was the same as it usually is, but it took them an extra 2 days to approve ads.
Yes. So people are bored, people are home, people still have money, and it's a distraction to buy. And people who didn't have the time to focus on themselves, this is the time. If you can reframe your ad or your promotion in the way that speaks to them, like, oh yeah, I never thought about that. So even like when I opened that second office, Jason, that's when we had banks shutting down, and people are like, are you out of your mind? I said, there are people buying planes right now, and that's why I focus on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Not the person who scrapes up every dollar they can just to do a short program with you. Oh man, everything is still out there. You just got to look where it is. So this is actually a good opportunity because people are home, people are available, and people need something to do. So what's better than working on you?
Right. There's something very powerful about normalcy. I mean, the event that
Yes.
Karen and I just did online, we made it a point before we started to go, let's reference this for 2 or 3 minutes at the beginning. This was an online 4-hour event. Let's reference it for 2 or 3 minutes at the beginning. Let's bring it up only towards the end in our closing remarks, but let's not make this event about this.
No.
To look that, again, this is what we can be doing right now. And I look historically at how movies and film flourished right after the Great Depression. And a lot of these big innovations in our world came out of a time where everything had to stop and people had to regroup. So again, it's the Frank Kern line, how to keep going during it, not because of.
Hey, let me tell you what's cool about this situation for me. And I mentioned this to my brother the other day. I said, people are out there freaking out and their jobs and they can't go here, do this. I said, do you know that this is the same old for me right now? I'm home like I always am. I get a room here at the front room of the house as an office, even the house here in Ohio now. I do my Zoom work. My clients, I still got clients booked, for the week. And nothing has changed. It's just that at night I can't go out and break the scenery up by going somewhere and hearing some music or, having a meal in a restaurant. That's the only limitation for me right now. I still go out and, do my run or whatever and work out and do yoga. But I've done this for years now. So to me, it's the same old thing. So anyone who's thinking about shifting into using these video platforms, all of a sudden they're going to find tremendous freedom and an incredible reduction in your overhead.
Well, I'd read the exact inquiry that came in this morning for someone I'm going to talk to later today. And, I would very comfortably say in advance, I don't think I would turn this into an email marketing headline. Yet this is the mentality of that client reaching out to me that wants to quit smoking, has previously been successful reducing and stopping on her own. And the form asks, why now? And clearly I can't go out and buy more of them. And I've hated them for years. It seems like a good opportunity to quit.
Now, if you want to take I don't think it's a darker approach, but that leveraging off of a situation, to be healthier, you want your lungs in the best condition they can be in right now, because this is a respiratory situation. So if you're a smoker, contact me now, So there's always a way to, in an ethical way, leverage what's happening, and maybe not leveraging, but just opening a door, bringing their viewpoint, their perception to something they're not even thinking about. And they're like, wait a minute. Yeah, that's a good point, isn't it?
Well, this brings about something that I know you do with your Facebook Lives, which is that event is not just popping up online for a little while and going, here's what I do, buy what I do. It's that you're hopping up and you're giving value. And very clearly, you're a person who operates a business, who provides this professional service. And yes, there's perhaps some call to action towards the end, but for the most part, people figure that out because that's why you're sharing it. So any tips on that Facebook Live strategy?
Yeah. And for any promotion or marketing you're doing, and before there was a time when either your location, the quality of what you had, or your fee or price could separate you, right? You could be a unique selling proposition, USP. But then when Web 2.0 came, everything shifted, man. I mean, everything changed as far as marketing and promotion. And then it was all about building a tribe, a following.
Yeah.
And plus, it's never changed that you get what you give, right? Or you give to get. So more importantly than ever, though, you had to give and let people follow you because you were of value. You weren't just trying to pound them and bring them in. And that's the way it goes. So even my students, I tell them, you never sell what you do. You offer it. You make an offer, you suggest. And if you're delivering quality, well, don't they want more? So my idea is I share with them different points on and different easy to apply techniques on how to live healthier, how to live better, whatever. Or maybe call them out, and say, like, what are you doing? Let's be honest about this. But then deliver something. And then always at the end, a little call to action. Hey, look, always presupposition. Oh, by the way, I love it when you all share this video with your friends, because the more we help each other, the better we all feel. So thank you for sharing this video with everyone else you know. And I've had people do that. I bumped into people in the store and they go, I watch you. My girlfriend told me I should start watching you in the morning. So you deliver some quality, you deliver substance, you give them something that will work, something that will help them. And then you're the source of that, whatever that is. So they're going to come back for more. Yeah, if you're not giving, man, you're not going to get, it's just the way it goes.
I love that. And especially the willingness to do things that you cannot financially track is what produces that biggest turnaround I've seen long term.
Jason, you probably know this too. I've been blessed in my career. And there was a time when I had not done as much work as I've done in the last 7 years on myself, and my ego wasn't as managed. So it was just going after more money. Because I grew up, money? No, no. Good things in life? No. And that's what I did. And all of a sudden I didn't understand why things started to slow down. It's Tom Nicoli, come on. Oh, then I got hip to the fact that I was going after it the wrong way. When you don't go after the money, you just go after providing the best service you possibly can. The money shows up, and probably more than you'll get if you just chase the money. Plus, whatever you chase runs away. So don't chase anything. Just provide really, really good work. And you watch what happens, man. And if you want to get a little more, woo-woo about it, imagine it's like this. You're helping humanity, and that which created all says, I'm going to shine a little blessing on you. Good for you. But you're all trying to rape everybody for the money they have, and they're like, yeah, I'm going to take some stuff away from you. Maybe. But you got to deliver quality, substance, and you have to give to get.
Beautiful. Where can people get in contact with you? How can they find you online?
My website for my practice is prosperusa.com. And that's a Better You Hypnosis. And they could just go there and contact me, or on social media, just type in my name and contact me.
Tom, this has been fantastic. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, man, thanks for the opportunity. And it's cool that you're doing this and you're putting in double time to get more of this good information out to people. So, good on you, man. And that's just what we just talked about, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, right on.
Jason Linett here once again. And as always, thank you so much for interacting with this program, for let me do it in Tom's way. I get a kick out of it when you all go online and share this with your friends. That being said, make sure you check out Tom's resources. And again, the easiest way to find everything that we're up to, go over to worksmarthypnosis.com/now online. We've got more online events coming your way, more free resources teaching you how to do this work of professional hypnosis around the world, and a lot more good stuff coming your way. Stay safe out there, everybody. Wash your hands. I'll see you in person very soon.
Thanks for listening to the Work Smart Hypnosis podcast at WorkSmartHypnosis.com.
Hey, it's Jason here, and I want you to be the first to find out as we upload new content here online. So do this right now. Click subscribe right next to this video, and you will be the first to find out as I share further resources, further downloads, and other really cool things to come your way. See you soon.